Welcome to Artists Supporting Artists. I'm Iz, an artist on a mission to speak to all kinds of people about their creative journeys. My first guest is Marcus Jenkins, better known as Sparxx, the lead guitarist from the Bournemouth-based band SOS, formerly known as Saints of Sin. In this interview, Sparxx gives us an insight into the do's and don'ts with the music industry, where he started off, and where he and the band are going. This was such a fun interview to do, and I hope you enjoy it as well. So, let's get into it. Hello, Sparxx.
Hello. Nice to see you this morning. What time is it actually for you over there, anyways?
6 in the evening. So the way that I remember it is if I count 3 hours up from my time, it's your time in the morning.
Okay, cool.
It's good because in the morning I can speak to people in the evening and vice versa. So, and then it's not like I'm playing phone tag with everyone, which is good, especially mum and dad. But yeah.
Do you speak to them often?
We text every day, but I try and speak to them on the phone. I usually speak to mum on the phone maybe every day. This week's been a bit rubbish because I've had a migraine, so like I just not wanting to be on my screen. Yeah. But I think I try and get them both equally, and then sometimes I can't speak to them both at the same time. So and then one week I'll speak to dad like 3 times and I've only spoken to mum like once. And she's like, oh, well, your father said.
I started keeping in touch with my parents. They only live around the corner, but
I was about to
say... they have a go at me because my older brother lives out of the country and they speak to him more than they speak to me. You take
it's the same with Josh.
A bit, don't you?
Well, I guess. Like, I think Josh probably speaks to mum and dad like once or twice a week. Whereas I'm like, every inconvenience, I'm like, Mummy. Right. Can I ask you your first question?
Do it.
I thought it was an easy one, but actually thinking about it, it might not be that easy. But my question is, what does creativity look like to you and the art that you make?
Well, I think the interesting thing about creativity is it can take on all kinds of forms, can't it? It's like that is the nature of creativity. I think the obvious answer is in different forms of art, but then at the same time, I think creativity can be just being resourceful. One of my favourite ways to be creative is in problem solving, and especially in a low income band such as ourselves, you have to come up with like bodge solutions to things all the time. Because you don't necessarily have the time, the money, or the proper resources to resolve a problem. And you find yourself having to come up with creative solutions to get the result that you want. We've done that with music videos, with recording, with all kinds of stuff. And I think that almost makes the process more rewarding. Because it's not like you're all the gear and no idea kind of person where it's like you just chuck money at the problem to solve it.
Yeah.
You literally have to use your creativity in order to get things done.
Well, it was like at your launch party. When was that? In like November-ish time, and you had Dad and Chris either side of the screens with the party poppers, but it worked so well, and you know it was so simple, and they just managed to get it right on cue, and it was just like
I'm glad they did, because a lot of people could fuck that up.
I know, I was so worried that it was going to be like but it was like when it happened, everyone was like, yeah, they did it.
Well, the thing is as well with that is I didn't know what it was going to look like. I knew that we had these confetti cannons, but I had no idea how good they would be. And then like you said, both Chris and your dad like hit it both at exactly the same time, and it looked awesome. I was shocked at like being on stage, like that was cool.
yeah, it was so good. I think I got an amazing photo of it as well. Like I just think the surprise on Josh's and all of your faces, like whoa. So how did you first become a guitarist, and what was the process of, obviously it was before it was Saints of Sin, but like setting up SOS? Tell me more about that.
So how far back shall I go? When I was a wee lad.
Yeah, go for it.
Weirdly, I kind of got into music by accident. It wasn't something I ever thought about doing off my own back. I was always into music from a very young child. I think some of my earliest memories are of being obsessed with Michael Jackson. So yeah, there was like toddler me grabbing my crotch and doing the MJ moves and stuff. So yeah, that's some of my earliest memories. So yeah, I was always into music, but it wasn't till my early teens. I think I was 14 when I first started playing guitar. But my obsession at the time was skateboarding. That's all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
All I wanted to do was skate. And although I loved music, I'd never really kind of thought about taking up an instrument. However, we always had this Casio keyboard, just a cheap keyboard thing in the house. And I would often find myself working out tunes from movies and stuff like that on the keyboard. And I didn't really think anything of that. I thought, like, you know, most people understand music and can hear melodies and would probably be able to do the same thing. But obviously my parents understood that not everybody has a musical ear and can, like, accurately just pick out songs by memory. So they kind of clocked that my ear was musical. And I think they were trying to encourage me and my brothers to kind of take up more hobbies and do more things. So one day, my dad suggested, why didn't you take up guitar? And I said no. I was like, no, I'm not interested. I just want to skate. And my younger brother, Ash, who's bassist in the band, obviously you know that, but the audience might not. He used to skate with me as well. And when the suggestion was posed to him, he was like, yeah, no, I'll do it. I'll give it a go. So Ash started playing guitar first. And then when he got his first guitar, I found that I couldn't leave it alone. Anytime I saw it sort of propped up in the house, like the keyboard, I found myself gravitated towards the guitar. I'd pick it up and sort of work out tunes on the guitar then as well. So I thought one day, I was like, oh, sod it, I'll give it a go. And then as soon as I picked it up properly, I was like, no, this is my thing. And then that was the new obsession. Kind of skateboarding went out the window and guitar became everything.
Yeah, so and then tell me about the start, because I want to ask, obviously Josh will have a different experience with his start to SOS, but obviously JV, sorry. But then you and then the other Josh and Ash will obviously have like a similar story, but I'd like to hear them all individually. So tell me about the start of Saints of Sin and then that developing into SOS.
So it, like, from when I first picked up guitar to being in a band was like a really short period of time. Interestingly, the first question was about creativity. Like, I feel like a lot of people, when they first pick up an instrument, it's almost like a sport in the early days, if that makes sense, because there's the real, like, physical aspect of it. So it's all about, like, building muscle memory, and the way that most people do that will be, like, learning other people's songs. They'll be covering their favourite bands or whatever. For me, it wasn't like that at all. Like, the second I picked up the guitar, it was a creative tool for me. I wasn't interested in learning anybody else's music. I did do a bit of that, but my attention span for learning other people's songs was like too short. I would learn like a bit of a song and then I'd go right back to creating my own music. So
I was pretty similar with that, to be fair. When I came to learning guitar, me and Josh would both just jam out in his room, and like, that's cool. We'd individually like learn different bits, but and then we'd come together and kind of just like jam it out.
I think like it's definitely, if you've got a lot of people don't have that sort of innate creativity, at least not to begin with. So I think for a lot of people it works just to kind of get to know the instrument by learning songs that you're familiar with. But I think, you know, like me, you and JV, we're all like super creative people that I think as soon as like you can pick up an instrument and it makes a sound, it's like, oh, what can I make with that sound?
Rather than make your own.
What can I copy with that sound, you know?
Yeah.
So, so early on I was sort of fumbling my way through songs. Didn't really know how to write a song, but I just loved creating cool sounds on a guitar. And like I said, Ash was learning at the same time. So we did a lot of playing together and it ended up sort of writing songs together. My older brother loved music as well, so he ended up kind of joining our jams and would start singing with these songs that we were writing. And then we decided that we'd create a band together, and we had Matt Mate was a bass player, and he was like, you know, into the idea of creating a band straight away. So these things started. I guess we had three of the members already like in the family. So that was like, one of the reasons why it sort of came together so quickly. So all we needed was a drummer, and my older brother Matt was in the same class at school as Josh, our current drummer, and he didn't know him very well, but Josh would always be drumming on the table, using his fingers.
We all knew one of those people. I swear, everybody knew one of those kids in class.
Drummers are probably like the most obvious musician because they have to drum on something all the time, and that's what Josh did. So yeah, Matt had no idea about Josh. He knew nothing about him. All he knew is that this kid would always drum on the table. So one day he just turned to Josh and was like, "Are you a drummer by any chance?" And he was like, "Yeah." "Do you want to be in a band?" "Yeah." And it just so happened that Josh at the time, he was really getting into drumming, and he got very good very quick, and he was desperate to join a band, and it just sort of like, it was one of those things that came together. It just kind of fell into each other's laps. Yeah. So we organised a jam session one day, and we went to Josh's house, and I vaguely recognised him from school, and it sounds cliche, but it really was like something out of a movie. At least that's how it felt to us.
Yeah.
Like we got in that room together, and the energy just clicked. It was like we all felt very much on the same page as people. And I guess the first thing we did, because we'd written a couple of songs, is we played a song as just me, Ash, Matt, and our bass player Steve. We played one of our songs to Josh for him to listen to and see if he could come up with any ideas on the drums. We played this song once, and he's like, yeah, okay, I think I've got some ideas. Let's just try jamming it together. So we started playing the song again, this time with Josh joining in on drums, and it just came together like instantly, like no exaggeration. The very, very first time we played it, he just slotted right in, and so many of his drum ideas were exactly what I had in my head for the song as well. So I feel like we literally played like the full song together, and like I said, this was Josh's first time ever hearing the song, and yeah, it was awesome. It just came together so well, and it was super exciting. So yeah, from there we formed a band called Mothership. That was our first ever band, our sort of school band. I think we spent like our very first year, we entered the school talent competition and won, and that was the first thing I'd ever won in my life. So that was like super inspiring and encouraging, because like obviously when you're so close to something and you love it and you enjoy it, you don't always know whether it's just, you think you're good but you're not. So
just getting that validation.
Yeah, from like the whole school, because it was like a lot of most of my year, and I think a couple of years above, attended that show as well, that talent competition. So it was, really cool to sort of prove ourselves like that. So yeah, the Mothership lasted, I want to say like maybe 3 years. We were all in school at the time, so it was kind of like a summer holidays band.
Yeah.
But we're all super passionate about it, and it only really sort of separated because of uni commitment. So our bass player Steve and my older brother Matt, they're a lot more academic than me, Ash, and Josh. So we sort of parted ways for them to go to uni, but the three of us were still super passionate. And also I think our music taste was slightly different from the other two guys. Yeah. We wanted to do sort of heavier, rockier stuff, and Matt and Steve, they were more, I don't know, I guess they were more eclectic than us, but sort of into softer music. Yeah. But anyway, from there, Saints of Sin was formed. We, a friend of ours would sound engineer for Mothership quite a lot, and he was also a guitar player. So we recruited him on second guitar. Ash got demoted to bass. Funny thing about Ash, though, like he although he was a good guitar player, like he never seemed like that passionate about guitar. Like he was passionate about being in the band, but I feel like he didn't really have any favourite guitar players or anything like that. But he did have favourite bass players. And I feel like Ash's whole mood and his whole vibe was like much more of a bass player than a guitarist. Yeah, 100%. And I think if you start playing guitar first, there's kind of like a bit of a rivalry between guitar and bass. It's like guitar, for a lot of people starting out, they feel like it's the cooler instrument or whatever. So when I first suggested to Ash, like, why didn't you go on bass? He was like, nah, fuck that. Like, bass is shit or whatever. But eventually I managed to convince him, and I think it was definitely the right move for him.
Bass is cool.
Bass is probably the coolest instrument,
Yeah,
and it's way more important than guitar. You probably won't find a single genre of music that doesn't have bass. There'll be plenty of genres that won't have guitar or even drums or whatever, but there's always bass.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, then Ash fell in love with bass. We got this other guy, Matt, on second guitar, and then we advertised for a singer for a while. We went through a few auditions and then found our vocalist for Sing to Sin, a guy called Rui. And yeah, we lasted about probably, was it 10 years? It might have been 10 years of Sing to Sin. It was a long time.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
You're old.
Yeah. But yeah, those were crazy times. We did, we learned a lot at Saints of Sin.
Yeah.
The majority of our gigs and our experiences are as that band. We went through a few different lineup changes. We went through 2 different guitarists. And yeah, I guess that brings us to present day with SOS. So I guess the idea of rebranding as SOS actually came before JV. And I don't know if a lot of people who follow us know that, because I feel like from Rui leaving to JV joining to the rebrand as SOS, from the outside kind of would have looked like, you know, as soon as JV joined, the whole thing sort of changed. But actually, we had the ideas of the rebrand and sort of like changing our sound and all that sort of stuff started happening from about 2019, I would say. So yeah, 2019, we came out with our second album, and my music taste had become a lot more sort of eclectic at that point. And I was listening to all kinds of things other than what we had been doing, which was like mainly 80s style rock stuff. So we started bringing in some more sort of modern, like pop elements, some electronic stuff, and just being a lot more experimental with the music. And we were like really passionate about this album. It was a self-titled album. And we thought like this would completely change people's perception of us. Yeah. Because we had built ourselves up to this point to be like this nostalgic sort of 80s act. And I was getting to a point personally where I was sort of fed up with that, and I felt like we could be more than that, and I felt like we were being pigeonholed and typecast.
Yeah, a bit of like a novelty.
Yeah, and people didn't like, although we still to this day don't take ourselves that seriously, because I don't think you should.
No.
Especially in the age of social media where everybody is like taking the piss out of each other all the time. I think you've got to have some humor and humility. I think there's one thing to be sort of like tongue-in-cheek and not take yourself too seriously, but I feel like we were taken as a bit of a joke in some ways.
Yeah.
And it felt like people maybe just saw us as like this funny sort of wedding band, like a function band type thing, because we do a lot of sort of classic rock covers as well back in those days, as well as our own original music. And we got compared to Steel Panther all the time. And as much as we loved them back then, you know, we didn't want to be seen as like a parody band.
Yeah.
So anyways, we brought out the self-titled album. We felt the music was really different and was a step in the direction in which SOS is now. But weirdly, I don't think it really landed that way with our audience. Like that album still ended up winning like this hair metal album of the year award on Facebook, which was like such a punch in the gut for me, because I worked so hard on like trying to create something different, and I felt like the music was really unique. It was like, people are still calling us hair metal. Retrospectively, I think a lot of that was down to our singer at the time. He had like just the tone of his voice was very sort of like Axl Rose. So I think that's what mostly people were picking up on. But that was the start of this sort of rebrand idea. We brought out this album. It didn't quite do what I wanted it to do. And that made me want to like double down even more in this like new direction and get even more experimental and push as far away from the hair metal thing as possible.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit, didn't it? So I think over the couple of years of the pandemic, obviously we weren't gigging, and that was soul destroying, because like up to this point, like Saints of Sin was super busy. We used to gig like it probably average out to about at least one show a weekend for like most of the year. Often like 2 shows a weekend. So we went from being super busy, doing band stuff all the time, doing what we love. The live music, again, it sounds cliche, but it really does become like a drug after a while. Like,
yeah, definitely.
Nothing compares to playing live. So, and then, this massive like wall that we hit over the pandemic was a lot of time for reflection. So I ended up sort of like reflecting on everything we'd done as Saint Jasin, the stuff that I was proud of, the stuff that I enjoyed doing, but also like the stuff that I kind of was really getting sick of. And I guess mostly that was kind of just the scene that we were on that I was getting fed up with. Like the whole classic rock scene I feel was quite toxic in that people are quite close-minded, like at least musically close-minded on that scene. And I was one of those people as well. I was definitely a snob for a long time. Like if it didn't sound like the bands I liked, I wasn't interested, and everything else is shit.
Yeah.
And a lot of our sort of shtick at the time as a band was like bashing on pop music and stuff like that, and trying to bring back this old school rock. And I think once that was turned on me, I think with the release of our first album, we got a lot of like bad reviews from like classic rock magazines and stuff. And we, I think it was the release of our Uptown Funk cover that got onto Classic Rock magazine. And I remember like all the classic rock fans in the comments absolutely shredding us, like they hated it. And I was like, oh shit, it was like holding up a mirror. I was like, oh, I've been that guy. Like I would never like directly reach out to people. I wouldn't like write comments to hate on other people's music and stuff. But like behind closed doors amongst friends and stuff, I would always bash on music that I didn't like. And then it was like, oh shit, so this is what that feels like. I don't want to be that kind of person. So over lockdown, I started writing a lot and really trying to move away from that toxic sort of scene and try and find something new and sort of rediscover a passion for writing. And it was cool because I was so used to writing in a certain way for such a long time. It was like all these doors had opened up because there weren't any rules anymore to stay locked within this genre and in this one sound. It was like we could try a bit of this, try a bit of that, and that was really cool from a creative point of view to sort of feel like there weren't any limits. So so over COVID, I became obsessed with the idea like we need to start again. Like we need to fuck off Saint Jasin. We need to be something new. We need to give ourselves room to grow and be more than just kind of locked into this one thing. I felt like even down to the name Saints of Sin, it sounds like an old school hard rock or metal band, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If you think of bands like Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, they all have this kind of like dark, slightly religious, slightly old school sounding names, and like Saints of Sin, I feel like sort of fit within that bracket.
Yeah, definitely.
And I felt like, even just down to the name, we couldn't branch out and move into something new because like even down to the name, people will hear the name and think immediately put us in a box sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I was trying to convince the rest of the band that we need to completely like rename and rebrand. Now obviously doing that the same thing for like 10 years and having built up all this fan base and everybody knows us for this one thing, that was quite a scary prospect for the band. And a couple of members were took some convincing to be open to it. So in the end, we ended up compromising and saying, well, if we don't want to completely rename, if we don't want to completely like leave behind everything that we did, don't want to feel like we're alienating the fans. People have always called us SOS for short over the years anyway. SOS is kind of like, although it's tied to our old initials, we would drop that as our official name.
Yeah.
And it doesn't SOS is like generic, right? In terms of like, it doesn't conjure any particular image of a band, right? That could be any kind of artist, any kind of band. So I felt like it gave us the freedom to be able to branch into other genres and not be pinned down as one thing, sort of based on our name. Then, as we came out of the pandemic, things didn't work out with our old singer. We finally parted ways with him, and then we were left on our asses, basically, just back to the three of us, me, Josh, and Ash, which is where it all started with Mothership. Keen to continue. At this point, we hadn't managed to do the rebrand. We were still Saint to Sin. So I guess, like, in some ways, it was, like, scary in that we didn't know if we'd make it out of that. Like, that could have been the end of the band. But at the same time, it was an opportunity to do the rebrand properly and really sort of come out as something completely fresh and completely new with a new singer. Enter your broski to the story. So again, it all came together quite quickly. There was the pressure of, we had a bunch of gigs booked in as Saint Sin as well. I think it was like probably about this time of the year, about springtime, that we were singerless. But we had loads of gigs booked in for the summer. So in order to, we really didn't want to cancel them. So we were on a desperate singer hunt, and we were like, let's just get somebody in the band who can do the job to sort of get us through the shows. And then also, that is a great sort of like testing period as well for whoever joined the band to sing for us. It would be a good trial for them to kind of do the summer's worth of gigs with us and see how we all got on together, and etc. etc. So yeah, we held auditions. We only auditioned about, I want to say, like 5 people. It really wasn't a lot. And yeah, JV was as soon as he hit that audition, we like clicked immediately. It was very similar to when like I said, the first time with Josh on drums.
Yeah.
You know, certainly from the point of view of our personalities, it felt like we'd known JV for ages. It was just exactly the same wavelength, same sort of style, same sort of vision as us as well. I feel like JV kind of went through, how do I phrase it? I think he went through a similar experience in terms of like wanting to blossom into something new.
Yeah, I think so too.
I'm sure you'll get it on his interview. He'll give you his side of the story. But yeah, it felt like we were very much aligned. So we were like, well, let's get JV on board for these summer shows and see how he does. And yeah, honestly, it got better and better from there. And I think we also discovered how important it was to get the right singer for the sound that we wanted. Because as soon as JV jumped on board, that was when all the sort of like hair metal labels and every that way that we were perceived started to sort of fall away. Yeah. So, what more can I say about that? Is that the question answered?
Yeah, it is. It is actually. It's really well. Good. Very well. No, and to the point, as much as it could be, branching 15 years of a music career.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much more to it than that, obviously, but hopefully that gives you a nice sort of overview of. Fuck it, what was the question again? How did I get into it?
How did you get into guitar? And then, and then how was Saint and Sin started and then turned into us first. So you did answer the question. I mean, I'm the worst person for talking for 20 minutes and not even answering the question, so you did do that.
Cool.
Okay, so the next question, you may have already answered it within your last question. What would you say was your biggest learning experience?
Oh, fucking hell. I saw this on the prep sheet and I was like, oh God, that could be another rant, couldn't it? How do you pin down one thing? Like the whole experience of being in a band, especially the way that we've done it, because we always although I guess we formed the band sort of when social media was a thing, we never really approached it like the social media route. It wasn't like... Yeah. I think especially these days, a lot of artists will come up through social media. A lot of their experience will be gained from posting content online, you know, writing songs, making videos, that sort of thing. And maybe people will get to quite a good level of notoriety and have thousands of followers without ever even having played their first show. Yeah,
definitely.
Whereas for us, it was the complete opposite. That from within months of forming our first band, we were out gigging, and we were like, "Oh, this is what we love doing. We love performing live. We love showboating in front of people."
Yeah.
So, that's what we did from day one. Was gig, 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 gig. Fuck, I've gone on a tangent. What was the question? Oh yeah, learning curve, biggest learning curve. So I think being a band that like literally got out there in the real world, and we played all over the country. We've done like real shit cringe gigs to like some real large level gigs, and sometimes they would be on the same weekend.
Yeah.
I feel like when you're in that kind of environment, everything is a steep learning curve because you're in the deep end. There's nothing like cushioning you. There's no practice. We just got out and played. So yeah, to pin down one big learning curve is such a hard thing to do. There's been a couple of times like working with promoters or external people outside the band. I've realised that everybody involved in the business is like passionate about it, and it's a strange business. It's not like any other business, and you've got to be super careful when dealing with other people outside of the band, especially when it comes to like opportunities in the industry, because people are surprisingly hard to piss off.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
So there's been a couple of times where we've like completely unintentionally pissed people off in the industry, and that is a fast, hard learning curve. That's a slap in the face kind of learning curve. And I think it just comes down to clarity of communication.
Yeah.
So see if I can remember the specific story. So there's a band called Inglorious who are relatively well known. Again, they're sort of like on the classic rock scene. Very, very, very good band. The singer, a guy called Nathan James, he does a lot of like theatre stuff, West End stuff.
Cool.
Insane vocals.
Yeah.
Amazing singer. We ended up playing with this band in Southampton once. We supported them at the Engine Rooms, and at the time they would have been like the perfect band to sort of support and sort of absorb their audience and sort of help bump us up the ladder a bit if we could support a band like that. So after doing that one show, we really wanted to support them more and get on a couple of dates on their tour. So we managed to get a contact for their management, and Ash, my brother, our bass player, he's going to hate me for calling him out here because I think he's still a bit raw about this experience.
Okay. How long ago was this? Sorry, how long ago?
This was 5 or 6 years ago, probably.
Okay, so you were Saints of Sin. You were Saints of Sin then.
This was the Saints of Sin days, yeah. It would have been more than that because, like, 5 years ago was only 2020, wasn't it? So I'd say probably 7 or 8 years ago. It was a long time ago. Anyways, he reaches out to Inglorious's management, and his intention was to put the feelers out and be like, you know, what dates have you got available? What would it take to get us on the show? I think it was a buy-on or some bullshit like that. That I don't know how many people in the audience will know about this, but frustratingly, a lot in music, unless you're on the same like label, the same roster as a bigger band, if you want to support a big touring act, a lot of supporting bands will buy onto the tour. You literally pay the headliner to play, which is kind of fucked up in my opinion, but that's the way it goes for a lot of these things. So I think there was a small buy-on involved, and obviously being starving artists, we don't have a lot of money to our disposal much of the time.
Yeah.
So it was one of those situations where we wanted to find out what was the scoop, how can we get on a couple of dates, are we available for the dates, can we afford to do it, sort of thing. But I don't think Ash was clear enough in his communications. And I think the way that this manager took it was that we wanted to confirm the show. Like, we were ready to do it. We were ready on all the dates. Let's go. Let's do it. So I think she kind of like penciled us in, and she had spoken to promoters and venues and stuff about getting us on the bill. But at this point, we weren't even sure if we could make the dates. And in the end. So when Ash came back and said, no, we can't do those dates, have you got anything else? She was immediately like really pissed off and shitty with us and just basically shut the whole thing down. She's like, you've wasted my time, this, that, and the other, but basically go fuck yourself, that's it, sort of thing. So
Wow.
I was panicking at this point because I was like, it was exciting because this could have been a big opportunity for us to get in with some people like properly working in the industry.
Yeah.
It was like, this is it, we fucked up our entire career because she's gonna then spread the word around in the industry and we're gonna be blacklisted and all this. So I think I might have had a number or something. I texted her and I was like, I'm so sorry, like, can we figure this out, sort of thing? And her initial response was just like, no, I'm not interested in people that waste my time. And to be honest with you, I thought this was a bit crazy and a bit of an overreaction because, yes, Ash could have been clearer in his... And I think emails and text is a problem, isn't it? Our generation.
Yeah, 100%.
Texting everything and you can't convey tone and context and all those things. So I thought, yeah, I don't know. But anyways, I managed to smooth it over. I gave her a call and I grovelled and I blamed it on him being a dumb bass player. Which was unfair, but I felt like the situation needed some kind of scapegoat. Like, I could have sat there and argued and been like, well, I think you're overreacting a bit here. But anyways, I apologised. I sent her a bunch of flowers via Moonpig, which I think that sealed the deal. She was very appreciative of that. But in the end, we didn't actually end up working with them again. And I don't think... Inglorious would be the right fit for SOS these days.
Yeah.
But yeah, no hard feelings. Hopefully Maria doesn't see this. Hopefully she can laugh about it now.
Oh, and if she does see it, she'll now understand the context.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I did explain all of this on the phone to her at the time, and I think I calmed her down. But I guess, going back to your original question about learning curves, that was a hard, fast learning curve in that you've got to be able to communicate properly. I guess people like this, they're stressed, they're busy. Opportunities are hard to come by. So if they're going to put go out on a limb to give basically a nobody band, which was who we were at the time, a chance, they don't want to fuck around. They don't want to waste their time. Be clear with your communications. And hopefully you will avoid embarrassing scenarios like that one.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like everyone's got a story of, just complete misunderstanding and it just turns into something that just never intended to be that way.
Yeah, for sure.
So now, what would you say is something that you struggle with currently? Making music or fitting stuff in, either way.
Everything. Fucking hell. Apart from, I'm going to sound so like jaded and cynical here. Apart from the creative stuff, like, making music, I do a lot of the, like visual stuff for SOS as well. I'll pretty much do all of it. So like album covers, posters, merch, graphics. Apart from you did that one line of merch for us, of course.
Thank you.
Credit your work. Apart from all that stuff, the creative bit, everything else I struggle with big time. And I guess at the end of the day, like, no matter what work you get into, how much you enjoy it, there's always going to be sides of the job that are not fun, right?
Yeah, 100%.
But I suck at organising. I'm not an organised person at all. And I think, obviously when you're gigging and you've got like deadlines to reach with like releasing music and the demand of social media these days, having to post consistently, that lack of organisation can make things very difficult.
Yeah, I get that.
It can be quite, I don't know what your experience is with it, but it can be quite mentally draining. Like when you take your art form as serious as we do, and it's not just like we're doing it for fun, like we really want to try and make a career out of this.
Yeah.
And I think the audience that will most resonate with this venture that you're doing now, these interviews, will probably be in a similar boat themselves and will be so passionate and so desperate to achieve their dreams. that they'll understand how much of a toll it can take on you to constantly like hit brick walls. And I know it's part of it, and any like even the big dogs, the people that have made it to the top, they'll say that, you know, you have to face 1,000 slamming doors before, you know, you get one open door. But yeah, so that can be a huge struggle. Keeping on top of organisation. I think one of your questions is about social media, isn't it?
It's my next one. Do you want me to ask it?
Let's tie these in then.
Okay. So
So,
how do you navigate social media, and do you find it a help or a hindrance?
well, it's very much a double-edged sword, isn't it? It's a help in that anyone and everyone has the potential to reach anyone and everyone, right? Which is a luxury that like only 20 or so years ago people didn't have, and you had to go up, you know, through the music industry. You had to hope to get signed by a label or management or whatever to work your way up, whereas now you can blow up overnight from, you know, a
TikTok
viral
sound.
video.
Yeah.
So in that sense, like, it is a very powerful tool. But on the other side of it, because anyone can do it, the market is now even more oversaturated, and it has become apparent how many talented people are out there. And you're just like, I honestly don't think anyone, once you get to a certain level, anyone's particularly more special than anybody else in terms of their talent or whatever. Like, again, it's a cliche, but I think to an extent, it really does come down to luck of a draw, because there's just so many really talented people out there. And I think the importance of social media, like how important it's become as an artist these days, can be a bit of a downside, in my opinion, in that it's almost like you spend more time doing everything but the art.
100%. 100%.
Right?
I completely agree with that. Yeah.
Like you have to be able to do everything, and like, I try and avoid using the phrase these days, like, you know, because I didn't experience anything outside of this, really. This is all we've experienced, but I guess we know from looking back at past music and stuff like that, the industry and everything was very different, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But these days, like, you have to do everything yourself. You have to be able to manage yourself. You have to be able to be admin, booking agent. You know, you
Publicist, marketing.
Yeah, exactly. And if you don't, like, if I was to do it all again, I probably would have studied like business or marketing at uni.
Yeah.
Because I wasted like a term. I literally only lasted a term at uni because I chose music. And what I very quickly found in that term was like, this literally isn't offering me anything, not to be arrogant about or anything, but it's not offering me anything that I don't already know or couldn't do, like, outside of the uni thing. So I didn't last there long, but like, retrospectively now I've done it all, I would be in so much a better position if I understood business and marketing better. Like, guitar and writing music, that's so natural to me. Performing is so natural. Like, I can do all that stuff without, you know, any help. So yeah, to know marketing and business would be very helpful. But yeah, I mean, you become a slave to social media, don't you?
Yeah, 100%. I saw this thing the other day where it was like this woman, and she was like a full-time artist, and she was like, the way that I actually balance it is like, you have to spend 60% of your time creating,
Yeah.
because that is, you know, that is what you're trying to sell yourself with. But the amount of time that everybody now spends on social media and everything trying to make it when they're actually not making anything.
Yeah.
And so it's like 60% creating, then 30% marketing, so doing social media, messaging people, whatever, and then 10% admin, replying to emails and doing whatever. So it's
Yeah.
like, and I only heard that like last week, and now that's something that I'm really trying to like focus on.
Well, I think that's interesting, the way that she's broken it down like that, because kind of tying into your previous question of the things that I struggle with. You know, I said I struggle with organisation. I think that is like what you've just outlined there is an organised approach to it. Like, this person has broken it down into percentages, right? And I've heard similar things before, more in the context of like hyper successful business people. Like
Yeah.
every aspect of their life is meticulously planned. Like they'll have every single day for the entire year. You know, at 12 o'clock I do this, at 2 o'clock I do that, and by this point in time I want to have achieved XYZ goals. And I think that makes a hell of a lot of sense. Like, if you want to be successful, if you can plan everything out and set yourself small, achievable goals that work you up a ladder, you're far more likely to achieve what you want to achieve. But even when you know like how you should do it, if you're not like that way inclined, I feel like our creative types just aren't like that.
I was gonna say that. It's like, but the thing is that we're creative, so we're just
Exactly.
everywhere all the time.
Exactly, yeah. The whole point in being creative is that you're like this loose, free-flowing. We don't like right and wrong. We don't like hard and fast. We don't like black and white. You know, we like the space in between. We like the grey area. So having to like force yourself to become some sort of, yeah. So that's something that I struggle with, but it also like ties into the social media thing. Great, great advice. Split your time up into percentages, but even following advice, simple advice like that as a creative can be a hard thing to do, can't it?
Yeah, 100%. So my last question is, what are you working on right now?
Right now, we're working on lots of new music that we're very excited about. So this will actually be JV's first like sort of main contribution to songwriting. As I explained in my rant earlier, a lot of the SOS songs were written over COVID. In fact, all of them were. So although JV sort of like contributed and put his little spin on these songs, I think from his perspective, it was very much like he still felt like he was just filling in. Whereas now the songs are coming together that are a lot more collaborative, and it's been cool working with JV actually, because our old singer was not creative at all. I would just like, I would write the songs and be like, here, sing this. And that was it. Whereas like JV is super creative and he comes up with like loads of really cool ideas, and I think we inspire each other. Like he'll send me an idea and be like, oh, I can't think of a chorus for this, can you? And like instantly after hearing it, I know exactly where to go with that. So that's been really cool. So yeah, at the moment, the main thing we're working on is music. We want to try and get another album together maybe. I think between us, we probably have enough songs for an album. We're just in the process of combining ideas and bringing it all to life. We've got a couple of songs that are already written and we've started recording already. We try and record as we go.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, actually, to be fair, like whenever we see Josh, he's always like, have a listen to this. And then, and then like you don't actually perform it for like a really long time. And I'm like, God, this song sounds really familiar. And then I think, oh yeah, I heard it a year ago.
Well, that's the crazy thing. Sometimes songs can sit in the bank for fucking ages. Like I said, all the SOS songs that have come out on our Entropy EP, most of those were written probably like 2019, 2020, like years ago. And this comes into like the marketing thing as well. Like you want to be sort of strategic about your releases and stuff. You don't always want to just put stuff out as soon as you've got it. Although I'm starting to change my mind on that now. I think it just sort of
chuck it out there.
Yeah, like I think especially at our level, like since we've rebranded and we're sort of re-establishing ourselves, we just want to get as much out as we can. And then once we've got a bit more of a captive platform, I think that's then the time to be a bit more strategic about releasing. But I think when you're at our level, just fucking put stuff out.
Yeah, why not? Be a bit more free with it.
Yeah. So yeah, we're working on new music, working on gigs. We want to gig more this year, although booking gigs has been a bit like getting blood out of a stone. But yeah, gigs and new songs, that's what we're up to now.
Cool. Okay, right. My 3 secret speed questions that you don't know anything about. First one, you got to just say it. Don't go on a rant.
I'm not good at this, but yeah, let's go.
Okay. What's your favorite SOS song on your latest EP?
I can't. It's like picking a favorite child, isn't it? But if I had to pick one, Waist Down.
Really? See, I don't listen to that one. I can't.
Yeah. What's your favorite?
Wait, my brother singing. I don't. I
Right.
literally, I don't know any of the words to any of it. The other day, I was actually listening to SOS in the car, and that one came on, and I couldn't tell you basically a word of it.
I
I
get it.
just,
I get it now because like you're into your grime and stuff, and I thought, well, that song's like really
yeah,
rappy. That would be like up your street. But the
yeah,
lyrical content is your issue, isn't it?
yeah. Of my brother singing about, yeah, I
Yeah,
don't like
no, fair enough. I get
it.
that now.
My favorite is probably Mary Jane. That's the one that stays in my
Oh,
head the
fair,
most.
fair, cool.
Yeah,
An
yeah.
underrated bop, that one, I think.
Ah, it's the best bop. Well, but then I do love With You, but I think that one was just because that was the first song that Josh was on.
Yeah, that was your
Um,
introduction.
yeah, so I listened to that one a lot.
Fair.
Okay, for you, is there anything creatively that you want to explore outside of SOS?
Ooh, good question. Not from a musical point of view. I um I get I get all my sort of like creative satisfaction through SOS. Um, ooh, I'm into film scoring at the moment. I
Hmm.
scored a feature length film a couple of years ago, which was awesome.
Yeah,
I also scored a short film, maybe last year or the year before. So that's something I really want to get into and do more. That was very
yeah,
cool, very fun. A totally different way of creating music. I think also my favorite thing about creating music is like composing. Like when I'll write a song, much
mm,
to the annoyance of the band members, I would like write everything. Like I won't just
yeah,
write a guitar part. Like I love sort of like overseeing it and seeing how all the different pieces fit together. And
yeah,
for me, like once I get one part down, say it's a drum part, that will inspire the guitar part, which will inspire the bass part, which will inspire the next part, and it's all like a sort of
yeah.
domino effect for me.
It's just a
And
picture, creating the picture.
yeah, exactly. I can't just like focus in on the one bit. I need to know where my direction is. Like, what's the bigger picture going to look like?
Hmm.
And film scoring is literally that. Like, I'm creating each individual element, and you've got the cool thing about scoring is you've got a solid theme to go down because you've got a visual stimulus.
Hmm.
Um, you've got like themes to work with. It's not just like writing a song as a band. You've got to pull inspiration out the thin air or wait for it to come to you. Whereas like
Yeah,
you've got your sort of your parameters already set for
yeah,
film scoring, so it's quite a fast creative process with that, which I really like.
yeah. Perfect. And last one is, where's your favorite venue to play?
Hmm. Um, there's been so many over the years. A lot of them have closed down, but I would say because we played it twice currently and it was awesome. The Portsmouth Guildhall.
Oh yeah,
We're
yeah.
most at home on a big stage. Absolutely love running around like a bunch of puppies, and they've got that
Hmm.
big like LED screen or projector or whatever it is
Yeah,
on the back, so we can have our animated backdrop, which has been awesome. So
yeah.
yeah,
That was
that's
really
been
cool.
Portsmouth Guildhall.
Cool, perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming
No
on
worries.
and being my first interview.
Hopefully it's a success.
Yeah, hopefully. Okay. Thank you. Have a good day.
Cheers.
Another great big thank you to Sparky for being on, and thank you to you for tuning in. Maybe this has helped inspire somebody to start their own music journey. These episodes will be airing every Tuesday, so make sure that you like, subscribe, and hit that notification button to make sure that you don't miss an episode. Thank you, love you, bye!